Right, quick run through with fractions again the next week. I may have missed a week. I'm blaming Storm Owen for that one. Right, so this is more for high schoolers. So you're talking year 8, year 9, year 10. They'll be learning how to do this probably for the first time. And for foundation level maths, you'll need this for the exams. That's the M1 and M2, and you possibly need it for some of the higher up ones. So if you're doing higher maths and fractions are a bit of an issue, then you need to go over this as well. Yeah, this is non-calculator, so put them away. Right, so I'm going to actually teach adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing with fractions. Now, unlike most numbers, adding and subtracting are normally the easiest things to do, and then multiplying and dividing is a whole set of new rules that makes it tougher. Fractions are the reverse. Multiplying and dividing with fractions is way easier than adding and subtracting them. There's a whole new set of rules for that. So I'm going to teach you multiplying and dividing first of all. So multiplying fractions, just starting off with something straightforward. You've got 3/4 multiplied by a half. All you have to do when multiplying fractions is multiply your top numbers first of all, the 3 times 1, which is 3, and multiply your two bottom numbers. 4 times 2 is 8. That's it. That's literally it. That's how to multiply fractions. Any kind of fraction. For example, if I did that again, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So say we have 3/7 multiplied by 2/5. Multiply those two, that gives you 6. Multiply those two, that gives you 35. Done. See what I mean? Right. Multiplying with fractions, dead easy. The next level up is dividing with fractions. And that you just have to learn. You have to flip things around a little bit, because what we're going to do is we're not actually dividing by fractions, we're actually going to times them, but you have to do a couple of things to be able to then times them. So if I had, for example, let's go with 4/9 divided by a half. Well, you know the answer is going to be 2/9, but we'll get to that. So what you do, it's the KFC method. If you don't know this already, get to know it, just learn it, you need to know it. K stands for keep your first fraction, so 4/9 stays the same. F means flip your second fraction, so the 1/2 becomes 2/1, and then the C stands for change the divide back into times. And then we do 4 times 2 is 8, and 9 times 1 equals 9, so it's 8/9. Oh, I said it was going to be 2/9. I'm an idiot, I forgot. Dividing by a fraction is to actually double it. Fractions are fun, aren't they? KFC method, I'm going to do another one of those. As I say, you just have to learn the KFC method. So we have, let's go with 3/5 divided by 7/8. So what we have to do, keep the first fraction, so that's going to be 3/5. Flip the second fraction, that's now going to be 8/7. Change the sign, it's now times. 3 times 8 is 24, 5 times 7 is 35. Don't believe me? Put it into your calculator. Oh, the fraction button's so handy. If you're allowed a calculator and you have to add or multiply or divide with fractions, you just put the fractions into the calculator and it does it for you. It even simplifies it and everything. So that is how to multiply and divide with fractions. As I say, if you need to practice that one, I'm going to put some worksheets up on my Facebook page just so that you can run through, because by repeating something lots and lots, you just get naturally better at it, and then you don't have to remember it because you just do. Right, adding and subtracting. Right, so I used to be taught the old school method, which took forever. It was a lot of thinking involved, and it's just anyone who struggles with fractions, they cut out the thinking. So you want a method that is easy to learn, it doesn't require much thinking, and you just do it on autopilot. And that's this method that I came across during COVID on TikTok. Just don't even. TikTok has its uses. Right, so if we were adding, say, 3/5 plus 2, I don't know, 7th. Right, so what we have to do here is, this is the fun part, because this is, as I say, something you have to learn. You multiply these bottom two. Yes, I know we're adding, but this is how to add with fractions. You multiply your bottom two numbers so that you get your new bottom number. 3 times 7 is 35. So that's our new denominator. Then we cross multiply the first fraction with the bottom, the opposite. So we're going to do 3 times 7. Again, timesing again. So that's going to be 21. We're plussing, so we plus, and then we do the opposite too. 5 times 2, which is 10. 21 plus 10 is 31 over 35. And that's how to add with fractions. Now the handy thing is, it's the same for subtraction. The only difference is, instead of adding there, you take away there. Right, I'm going to do another one. Just to prove another adding one, and then I'll do a subtraction one, and yeah, then that is you for today. So 5/12 plus 9/10. Okay, doesn't matter if they're big massive numbers, and at foundation level they're not going to be as big as this, trust me. So I multiply my bottom two, and that gives me 120. I multiply those two, which gives me 50. We're adding, so I add, multiply those two, which gives me 108. Add them together, we have 158 over 120. Now this has given me a top heavy fraction, and you generally don't leave them in that format. It has to be a mixed number then at that point. And that is, whenever we did that thing before where it was a top heavy fraction, we had to turn it in. How many 120s are there in 158? There's 1. How many's left over? 38 is left over. Now they're both even numbers. I could cut that down even more. You can use your calculator to do that. Put in 38 over 120 into your calculator, hit equals, and it'll give you the simplified fraction. So if I divide both of those by 2, I've got 119 over 60. And I can't go any further, because that, you should know, is a prime number. If you don't, definitely practice prime numbers. So that is adding, and you see what I mean about it being that wee bit more horrid. Right, I'm going to subtract so that you can see it's exactly the same thing, only I'm going to go back to a nice easy one. If we have a third minus a tenth. So multiply your bottom two numbers, multiply those two, gives me my new denominator of 30. Then I'm going to multiply those two. 1 times 10 is 10. This is minus. 3 times 1 is 3. 10 take away 3 is 7. The answer is 7 over 30. Right. The only other thing that you're going to need to be able to do is work with fractions like this in a wordy question. So I'm going to do one example of a wordy question, and then yeah, then I'm not doing anymore. Don't you do anymore, just practice these ones. Okay, so it's usually always to do with adding and subtracting, because they're mean that way, but every now and again it'll be a combo with maybe multiplying and then dividing, or it'll be something. Right, so this question one here says, Jasmine has a bottle that contains 7/10 of a litre of orange juice. She pours out some orange juice and now has a quarter left. How much orange juice did Jasmine pour out? Well, she had 7/10. She's now left with a quarter. And what you need to know is the difference between the two, because the difference between the two is the amount that she used. And how do you find difference in maths? You subtract. So it's 7 over 10 minus 1 over 4. And here we go. Multiply your bottom two numbers. 10 times 4 is 40. Multiply my opposites. Always start with this one. It's that one across to that one first. Doesn't have to be an adding, but it absolutely does in subtraction. So I just autopilot do it from the first one across. 7 times 4 is 28. This is a minus, so I minus. 1 times 10 is 10. 28 take away 10 is 18 over 40. I pop that into the calculator, or like divide them both by 2, and I'm left with 9 over 20. And that's the answer. She used 9/20. There's some rotten questions in the GCSEs, and it's not that it's rotten maths, it's rotten comprehension. It's trying to work out, what the heck do you want from me? I'm going to be going through an M6 paper probably later on today actually, and there's a particularly yuck fractions question in that. There's always going to be a wordy fractions questions in the M6, and it's often in the M7 too. So anyone that's doing those papers without calculator, just watch how that paper is done. I'll do my best to not talk a load of crap in it. Yeah, good luck with the practice with that.